Welcome. Good morning. I'm Vicki Janowski, editor of the Greater Wilmington Business Journal, and as Sandy alluded to in her comments, we are here to hear from three executives from very different jobs, but they have a common denominator of making the decisions with the organization to set up camp here in the Cape Fear region. And today we want to take a minute while we have them here on stage to talk a little bit about the how and why that they got here, and with the theme of big jobs, what they're looking ahead towards when it comes to workforce and workforce issues, and also just a little bit about lessons that we can take as a community from what their organizations decided for staying here and how that could lead possibly to landing other companies as well. So today we have David Gray, CEO of Fed Up Foods, Holly Sullivan, Vice President of Worldwide Economic Development for Amazon, and Steve Ubeli, CEO of Frontier Scientific Solutions. So to start us off, so we're kind of all on the same page, I think we all know what Amazon does, correct? No longer just selling books. But also they have a project that's going on in the New Hanover-Pender County line. So we wanted to take the opportunity to start the conversation off with finding out what each company does and where their current projects stand that are going to lead to these big jobs. So Dave, if you want to start up and tell us a little bit about what Fed Up Foods is and your entrance into the Wilmington market.
Sure. Fed Up Foods is the largest fermented functional beverage manufacturer in North America. We're supporting the largest retailers like Costco, Aldi, Kroger, Whole Foods, Sprouts, to give you an example. And as you mentioned, we started in Asheville, two mothers about 20 years ago who wanted to make a product called kombucha. And little did they know that during the growth of better for you goods, this would be a demand that would outpace what they thought they were making. And about 8-9 years ago, the organization made a pretty strategic decision to move away from being a brand strategy to a manufacturing strategy where we were going to produce private label products. And private label products are penetrating households at a level that hasn't ever seen before. Right now, 25% of grocery sales are private label. And so we made this decision to move away from a brand-centric to an operational business, and that's a different type of investment model. And as part of that, we started building other beverages outside of kombucha to become, as I said, the largest fermented beverage manufacturer in North America. 4 years ago, when I stepped in as CEO, we had a strategy to continue to manage our growth, and expansion was part of it, continued to be organically, and we set out to look for a location. Originally, our plan was to find something in the Midwest or West Coast, but Wilmington, ironically, kind of came into the play. And after we met the city, the great support from the civic leadership, saw the community, and of course, there was infrastructure here that really made a lot of sense. We decided to set up our third facility here in the U.S. And so the funny thing is now we talk about, our West Coast facility now is in Tennessee, and our East Coast are here in North Carolina.
From the mountains to the sea, right?
That's right, that's right.
And Holly, how about Amazon? What led to coming here to the new center? And also just to kind of fill everybody in on where the two facilities stand.
Yeah, happy to. Good morning, thanks for being here. And I'm wearing my big boots for Pooh today because it's so cold here. This is third winter, I think. Mm-hmm. So let me kind of level set. So we're building a large fulfillment center here. It'll be one of our most advanced Amazon robotics fulfillment centers here in Wilmington, and a last mile delivery facility. What the last mile means is that you will get your packages sooner. Yay for me too, being a resident. So our goal there would be to basically get your packages to you in 2 days or less. But we're not new to Wilmington. We have Whole Foods Market here. We have over 23,000 jobs across the state of North Carolina. So when we were thinking about this facility, and I have to give great kudos for the patience of Wilmington Business Development, New Hanover County, the city of Wilmington, Pender County, because this was a project that was going to happen before the pandemic. And I hate to kind of put time frames around the pandemic because it's so long ago. But the reality is that was going to announce a lot earlier. We had to make some more strategic decisions within the company. So we had to not move forward with the project. Then we were coming back to do the project, and then we pulled out again for the project. And one of the things we kept coming back to is, where are our customers? Where is the growth of our customers? And where's the best location where we can make this significant investment, over $500 million investment? And when you look at Wilmington, you have the talent here. It's a growing community within North Carolina, but also parts of South Carolina where we can serve our customers within less than a day. And the fact that the communities really stuck their neck out to put the infrastructure in, put a park together, allowed us to make that decision faster the third time around. Just being able to come in site ready, because we were looking at other sites between the Southeast. And when we pull the site up, knowing we have full infrastructure, we already did the talent review, and we could put a shovel in the ground within 3 months, that really made our decision to locate here. So where are we now? I don't know if you've driven down 421, but we're building a total 3.2 million square foot facility, and then a smaller delivery station that's a few 100,000 square feet. We will be opening that facility in Q3 of this year, hiring over 1,000 people, full-time jobs. And what does it mean when Amazon comes to town? It's not just the jobs and that economic impact that comes. All of our employees, our average hourly wage is over $23 an hour, day one benefits. But I think more importantly, it's about some of the upskilling that we do. We offer a career choice program, which is full-time employees. We will prepay your college tuition to an in-demand career. We look forward to developing those partnerships with our local universities and community colleges so we can create that pathway for not only our employees, but the community at large.
And we definitely want to get back to the workforce
Okay, I got
questions as
more.
well too. We've got plenty. And Steve, can you fill us in too on
Sure.
Frontier Scientific?
Yeah, so Frontier Scientific is an advanced logistics business, and we service the pharmaceutical industry, specializing in the transportation of temperature-sensitive products like your vaccines you take and biologics, clinical trials, GLP-1 products, systems like that we specialize in servicing transportation and storage of. We began the business in 2019, and we were servicing same thing. This is kind of our third iteration of how we started the business. Originally, it was to service the clinical trial market and the R&D market out of Raleigh, and quickly realized through the pandemic, commercial trade was really flipped upside down. The commercial market and the inbound of the products that had to be made, so the raw materials were not coming to America fast enough, and we had to solve that problem. So as Sandy said, wasn't a straight path. Doing the same thing that the industry was doing was not an option. The industry was suffering from the logistics standpoint. And we set out to solve that problem by standing up in Wilmington. Why Wilmington? You have to do things differently. You have to see things through a different lens. Wilmington was investing at the time about $500 million in infrastructure at the airport and the port, the NC ports. And the utilization factor for them was at a percentage that really was advantageous for us to set up our cold chain temperature-sensitive assets. And so we recognized that, and the city was welcoming us very well, and we decided to pursue our first facility off of 23rd Street. That was very successful. From there, we negotiated terms with the airport of about 100 acres, and we're about 3 weeks away from completing a 530,000 square foot, which I thought was the largest in the area, but we're not even close. Not even close anymore. So just took the wind out of my sails there, but it's so it's been quite a journey. We're so proud to be in Wilmington. We'll get to workforce development because we've done some really special things to scale. We started the business with about 8 people. We're over 80 now. Our probably fully staffed for that second building will be roughly 150 people. Will likely be over 500 to 1,000 people when we build out the campus park. And we've invested so far about $200 million in Wilmington, and we're allocating close to $1 billion here. So it's a little bit of our background.
Okay, so now everyone knows what everyone does. I do want to talk a little bit more about what the determining factors was, but I also want to remind everyone this is your opportunity to pick their brains as well. So don't forget, you can text in questions on the Cloudwise tent card on your tables or in the program, and we'll get to as many of those as we can during our time together. But you all touched on this a little bit in terms of the factors that we're determining, site-ready facilities. And Holly, in particular, you have decades of background in economic development, specifically as your field. I'm curious about what are some of the other factors or things that came up when your companies were looking at Wilmington versus another city. What were percolating up as the most important things, for and against, when you're weighing areas around to invest in?
Yeah, I think, talent's always going to drive a project of this size. You have to be able to get that day one talent, but also where can you continue to create that pipeline for future talent? And, Wilmington, New Hanover County, when you look at just this region in general, the talent is not only here today, you've got talent moving here. The in-migration data is pretty significant for this region. I know some of you chagrin about that. I am one of those that moved here. But it does create economic opportunity. Also, the level of higher education opportunities is significant here too. And a lot of these jobs will be hourly, but there'll also be several hundred management positions. So we've got to think about that kind of long-term talent pipeline. Site readiness, having a pad-ready site. I mean, I think the airport is similar, or available buildings is also key. Speed to market, speed to your customers is also going to drive decisions, and being able to put that shovel in the ground in a mere few months, and knowing that the communities would work together on an interlocal agreement for our entitlement process was significant. And third, I think, is something that we are considering more and more. You want to go where you're supported, where your investments are supported, where your employees are going to be supported, and where your employees can have that good quality of life. And I think Wilmington, raises the bar on that so significantly. So those are really kind of our determining factors. And we came in, we met with the policymakers, and just getting that level of support of how can we help? How can we make this project work? We know you've been circling the wagons, here for a little bit. And having those kind of one-on-one conversations, and I even talked to Scott at Wilmington Business Development several times. I was like, okay, we're going to have to figure this out. And it was just having that level of support and earning trust of the community was very important to me as we're making this investment. And we're going to continue to do so. We still have a lot of work to do as we hire and what those relationships look like. But it's been a really great first start.
Okay. And Steve, was it a given that you all were going to do this major expansion here since you were homegrown, started in Wilmington, or did you look at other areas of the country?
We did look at other areas of the country, but this particular region was prime for speed to market for us, and our products have to go to global supply chain hubs in a very short period of time, or we lose product. And that's probably the biggest issue in the industry today, is the loss of product on these current supply chains. So speed to market was really important for us, and having the port, and it's an incredibly efficient port, and so is our airport, being an international airport, allowed us to bring our own specialized aircraft in and operate internationally out of that. We have a facility in Ireland, so we can now get to Europe in 5.5 hours as opposed to a day and a half that most of the products are going through today. So that was really important on speed of market. And Wilmington, like I said, has been very wonderful to work with in terms of getting shovel ready, getting through permits, having our facilities move very quickly, coming from other areas and large areas in New York and Philadelphia area, very difficult to work with. This is a pleasure, so that's why we were excited to be here.
Okay. And David, you guys were a completely new name for Wilmington. You mentioned in your intro that you had looked at other different sites. So coming from the perspective of really being an outside looking in, what was standing out to you about the region, and what, when you were weighing the pros and cons of the cities, was important and least important to you all?
Yeah, I think the big challenge that we were facing is we were having unprecedented growth, experiencing some between 40-50% year-over growth, and the pipeline was big, and said speed of development, and we looked at doing just ground up projects and working with with different economic development, and we just couldn't find the timing, that would fit with the demand. And so when we started looking at buildings, we came across a building here in town that really met the needs of the organization, and also was an area that was kind of really true to our mission as part of an organization that's very people-forward, mission community. And we felt that building, the location of that building, the community that was around, we could really help kind of transfer that into a new place. So that was really the big reason for doing it.
The existing brewing operation that was on Greenfield.
That's
Were there
correct.
other cities that you were looking at that had that kind of existing brewing
Yes.
infrastructure?
Yes, yeah, we again, we looked at Midwest, we looked at the West Coast. Again, the civic leadership was also very prominent in that decision-making. We work a lot with community colleges and local colleges, and so UNCW and Cape Fear really gave us a lot of hope in regards to the development of the talent.
Okay. And let's switch over to jobs, big jobs being today's theme. The companies on stage represent, if things pan out as you all would wish, as many as 1,700 jobs just in the Cape Fear region, which is a lot of jobs. I think, especially in the Amazon case, we keep saying, throwing out 1,000 jobs, 1,000 jobs. And quick side note, shout out to Laura. We always have CLDA students come in to the Business Journal, and and the exercise we always give them to write headlines is we show them the Amazon announcement and tell them to make their own headline, take a stab at it. And they, on their own, always add 1,000 jobs onto the headline. So A, get to know 7th graders are coming for our jobs. B, to point that out as a story to show just how I think significant it is to people who haven't, heard the whole story of what's going on. So 1,000 jobs would be a major push in this area, but it also comes with the questions in terms of, if you're talking about third quarter, how are you possibly going to recruit that many workers in the time that you need from our pool that we have?
Yeah, so I mean, all of our data shows that there's available, labor here. I think, and just to be super candid, we will be able to pull from the hospitality industry. We'll be able to pull from some of the service industry. Obviously, young graduates from Cape Fear Community College and UNCW will also be, a great opportunity for them to kind of start building their career. We will hold a job fair, and we, oftentimes you might have that initial attrition, but the timing of that will be important. Fourth quarter is our busiest time of the year, so we tend to hire a couple of months before that, get people trained and into the facility, because it is highly roboticized, so there is a fair amount of training that comes around with that. But it's also the finance positions, it's the HR positions, it's the, we've got engineers on staff that we'll have to hire to fix things. So when we think about Amazon comprehensively coming to town, it's entry level, it's mid-level, and then it's more experienced labor that we'll be hiring within that talent pool.
And is the majority of that coming from the existing population here, or are you recruiting, a portion of that from elsewhere to move here?
We will generally recruit from the existing population here, and we find that people will generally drive between 30 and 45 minutes to work at our facility, so that also covers, pretty large regional. We might bring in a site lead from other places in North Carolina, just because they'll know our operations and they ramp up. We tend to rotate our site leads so they learn and can ramp up different facilities, and then we can hire that locally too to backfill later.
Okay. And in the conversations that you've had or been having with the business community, have there been conversations of, how that might impact other companies here?
There have. And there are studies, out there on, we tend to pay a little bit more, and how that drives up some of the wage rates. Some are welcoming of that, others are not as welcoming of that, but that is the reality. We believe in, it is work that is important, and it's important to our customers. So what we pay our employees, we believe, is fair, and also allows them to develop the life that they want to lead.
And David, what kind of workers and what timeline are you looking at in terms of Fed Up? Or are you fully hired now? Are you fully staffed at the facility?
No. I mean, again, it's our pace of growth is based on, our pipeline demand. But, we're continuing to to grow, and specifically we'll have a lot of people in the plant side of things and packaging and warehousing, but we also have folks that are in finance, HR, engineers. We're very science-based, so we have a lot of fermentation people that we're continuing to look and bring on board as well.
Okay. Say, and then Steve, you guys are also, very highly specialized. You're representing that life science sector, which for years and years and years, that officials have been trying to develop in this area too. What kind of workforce needs, or are there workforce gaps that you're seeing for the workers you need?
Yeah, so far, I mean, we're following a very, very similar path on Scale Up to Holly and Amazon, same kind of talent acquisition program as well. But one of the areas that we've found has been significantly helpful for us has been the veterans talent pool. And we've worked with NC Biotech and secured several people through that. It's NC Biotech Move, and that's a veterans recruitment and talent placement program. It's been very helpful for us. So we see that as an additional, a really important additional aspect to our talent recruitment. And so far, we haven't seen any issues with talent recruitment, and it's been, we went from 12 people to over 80 in 18 months, and I would say more the technical side of it has come from the Raleigh-Durham area in our industry. Our quality of life here is easy to pull those folks down, and so we've been able to do that successfully. But the talent pool here is growing and very well, and the university and Cape Fear is the programs that they're building for students coming out of those universities are really advantageous to us in supply chain. So so far I haven't seen any hurdles on that side of it.
I'll expand on the military hiring because I do think that is a pocket of individuals that companies don't often think about, that this region is very rich with that opportunity, and we have very specialized programs on military recruitment into Amazon. It's been highly successful, and that is another driving talent pool to bring companies here.
Okay. We have a question from Amy in the audience.
Good morning. I'm really far away, but thank you so much for this opportunity. Hello. I'm Amy Turner from Pivot Point Consulting. I am a business growth consultant, and I've helped serve many large organizations across different industries such as pharma, retail, grocery. And I know with growth comes a lot of growing pains, so I was just wondering where your growing pains are today, whether with people, process, or even priorities. Thank you.
I'll start a little bit. I mean, I'm going to zoom out a little bit on this and just answer. I think the biggest challenge I think right now as it relates to people is around trust and morale. I think there's a lot of people that, we've kind of gone from an employee type of workforce to employer, which is really right now really based on the K economy. And I think a lot of the challenges that we're seeing is really how do we build morale, how do we build trust back in the workforce, and getting people to really believe in the entity of business, because there's so much distrust around businesses, NGOs, and government right now. And so for me, I find that being the stuff that I have to constantly work on is how do I get people motivated? How do I drive progress versus perfection in an organization so people feel the momentum and feel good about coming to work? These are challenging times right now. Like, I think everybody here would admit that, we've got a lot of things that are impacting us outside the walls of our business before people come in. And I think that's the biggest thing that is keeping me up at night is, again, it's our people. How do we keep them, whole, keep them thoughtful, growing, safe psychologically? So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
I'll take a more, I would say your people are your most important product that you ever have. So how do you ensure those employees are living those happy lives, but also well taken care of while they're in the four walls of your facility? And there's various ways and methods that we do that. We have all hands meetings. We just had one this week where we get the entire company together, so 1.3 million people, and have different speakers come on stage. It's virtual. You do watch parties and everything. And I think that building that culture is increasingly important within the workplace. But on a macro level, I do, our investment kind of strategy on a global basis. So everything from our fulfillment centers to studio productions, to our corporate offices, to drones, grocery, et cetera. So I get to see a lot of different things. The regulatory environment, it is increasingly challenging, not specific to Wilmington or this region, which is another driver why we're seeing so much economic prosperity here. But companies don't look at county lines. Companies oftentimes don't look at state borders, and companies often can't look at national borders, but we are forced to because of that regulatory environment. At the end of the day, we're here to serve our customers. And so we have to make really opportunistic choices in order to do that. But the regulatory environment is often, I'd say, one of our primary challenges, and how to navigate that in a geopolitical way that you are ensuring the success of your investment, but also the success and safety of your employees.
Yeah, regulatory is a huge problematic issue for us as well. So we're licensed to distribute in 48 of the lower states, and everybody has different regulatory requirements. It's a hard thing to navigate through. But I think the theme is culture, developing culture in your business. Your teams make or break your business is the bottom line. So having the right and great culture in your organization, and to Amy's question to what are the biggest challenges, definitely company culture, and providing that and keeping that special part of your business going the way you want. And on top of that, training is a big thing for us, and that's part of the regulatory side of it. We're constantly having to train and retrain, and the industry changes just constantly. So we have to have programs in place that not only effectively train our employees, but we monitor and effectively utilize those training programs. So that's a challenge as well for us.
Okay. And table 13, we have a question from Natalie English.
Good morning. As a chief community cheerleader, it's real easy to get caught up in celebrating, which I do. Y'all know that about me. But I also look forward and make sure that I'm paying attention to those things that could get in the way of retaining your jobs and or from us being able to continue recruiting jobs like yours. Are there any of those things that you all would suggest we keep our eyes on?
I'll take that. So I think the biggest thing we have to keep our eyes on is that we're open. I would say start at the university level in our schools and be very open to looking at the businesses that are growing in this community and how to serve them effectively and grow those programs. And currently I have a good opportunity to work with the College of Engineering and Science, and we've been sharing a lot of ideas on how, for our industry, how do we service that better. So keeping our eye on that, and of course the growth in the technology sectors that are coming to Wilmington will dilute the talent pool. I mean, there's no question it will. And so we have to think outside of that lens on how do we recruit into this wonderful area. And if you never talked to Natalie, she is the biggest fan of this area ever. So appreciate that.
I'll answer. I think it's three primary things. One, it's education, and I think it starts at K through 12. As companies and C-suite people are looking to relocate or expand their companies here, they want a top-notch education system for their kids, whether that be public or private. So I think we have to continue to invest in our teachers and make sure that our education system is the best in the state of North Carolina. Second, I would say business friendly. The policymakers have to support the jobs coming, the diversification of jobs, entry level, mid-level, and higher level. Without that 3 different tiers, then you're squeezing out your middle class. And so it's very important. This is an increasingly expensive place to live. So you want to make sure that people have that upward mobility and that opportunity to be able to stay here, but also raise their families here. And then their kids can also, wherever they choose to, their life plan, but they have an opportunity to come back here and have a job here. And third, land use. Land use is a very powerful tool. There is one thing, we can recreate many things with innovation in this world, but we cannot create more land. And so we need to be very good stewards of the land use, of where our residential is growing, where our commercial is growing, creating opportunities for commercial, industrial development. And I'm a big fan of, my background is in urban planning, graduate of University of Tennessee with a master's in planning, was a planning director before I went to the dark side of economic development, but I've been in public government. I spent 22 years of my career in public government. And I think land use is the most valuable tool that any community has, and they have to be good stewards of that land use and preserve our green space while also accommodating appropriate development.
And how about from your perspective, Amy?
I probably echo both what they had to say. I mean, I think, what really spoke to me was obviously around education. It's a really big piece, and really starting that early right now, and specifically with all this AI coming fast, there's a lot of guidance that needs to be at the younger level in order to really bring hope to direction.
And when you speak of training, real quick, I wanted to touch on something you said earlier, Holly, to hear a little bit more about this. But you said tuition, one of the things that will come about when you have these workers online, this large group of workers, is the tuition payment for training. How does that impact, I guess, just the workforce here and also the community college and university? So
we have, for our hourly associates, we have a program. We have many programs, but one of them is a career choice program. And that was started many years ago with the philosophy of, when we come to town, primarily with our fulfillment network, we're going to hire people, but it might not be the career of their choice. So how do we invest in the career of their choice? And we found that giving them a full-time steady job with benefits on day one is a path to that. But then we also need to give them the opportunity, whether it be in nursing, whether it be get their CDL license, whether it be in AI, whether it be in engineering. So we offer a prepaid college tuition to an in-demand career. So we work with primarily the community colleges or technical schools around the country. We identify those partnerships and kind of set the program up, and we will have a classroom in our fulfillment center where some of they choose, they can take the classes on our campus, or they can come to the community college. They're pretty close together, so we also look at, in North Carolina, it's a great community college system where I think most residents are within 30 or 45 minutes of a community college. So creating that network of opportunity. We also have pathways inside the company. Say somebody gets out of school and they, need a job immediately, whether high school or college. We can also put them into a pathway, whether it be in finance, whether it be in engineering, whether it be in algorithm, AI development. So there's upward mobility within the company also. We have so many stories of employees that started at hourly and now they're vice presidents leading a team.
And it's also training, though, that could take them out of the Amazon
100%. And that's our career choice program. Most of the students will stay with the company 2 to 3 years, and then they will move on in their career pathways.
To somewhere else in the community.
To somewhere else in the community.
That's interesting. And Steve, you mentioned earlier working with the university and specifically supply chain, which I know UNCW is focusing more on as well. What is that, in terms of from a company's perspective, what is that like working with higher ed for, a talent pipeline that directly overlaps with what y'all are doing?
Yeah, that program that they're working on now, it's coming on strong, and we've spent several months really, talking about how does that impact our area and the jobs that are going to be needed, the companies that are coming in supply chain, and they're coming in strong, and obviously Holly's team is going to pull a lot from that. But the programs are an extension of that. So today they're offered at certain levels at the universities. I think they should be expanded on to be more technical. A lot of the technology that we're bringing in is robotic, and it's going to continually evolve. And as David mentioned on the AI side, that's also coming on very strong. So as we go through these programs in the universities, they also have to evolve with the technology that corporations are bringing in, because it's changing at a faster pace than we all can really keep up with. So that's the key in working with the universities, that they keep up to the pace of the technology that's coming in the workforce today.
Well, speaking of technology, since you bring up AI, how are each of your companies utilizing AI, and where do you see it in the future having the potential for what you're doing in your industry? David?
Yeah, I mean, currently right now, we've got a consultant that's in right now, and what's pretty interesting about this is that, you know, when you're looking at AI, it's not like you can go out and get a consultant that's got 10 years that's been working with it. So we're really on the infancy with it, but we've been really trying to take a look at all of our systems and processes, and we're about to deploy kind of the old Oakland A's beanball, just hitting singles, but we're going to be going in with like little teams and looking at areas with low-hanging fruit where we can really optimize and bring AI into the picture. So a big area, like for me, that's really important is what we call SNOP, which is our sales operation planning, and really connecting our sales coming in with our operations and planning around the supply chain and people. And hopefully we'll really get more predictability with that, better oversight, but more importantly, be able to tie in the type of information that is really seamless so that we can make really quicker decisions, because things are changing so fast on a weekly basis as it relates to production. So again, we're really pushing heavy into it. We really believe that it's going to really make us more efficient, optimized. It's going to make our people better. I'm of the belief that in our organization, it will support our people. It won't remove jobs, but it will enhance us so that we can make, you know, better informed decisions.
Steve, do you want to take it next?
Yes, definitely supporting technology for us as well. Where we really see the benefit is the aggregation of data is incredibly fast, and the utilization of that data to predict in our supply chain where there are issues. And for us, and I didn't have a chance to really speak about what our value proposition is, but we are zero loss value proposition in the supply chain, and that's a very hard thing to accomplish without technology, and AI has given us the ability to aggregate that data, allow our people to make informed decisions quicker, better, and that's where we utilize that technology mostly.
I know this little company, Amazon Web Services, that can help both y'all out. So I think we are in a unique position because we are a developer of AI, we're a utilizer of AI, and we're a deployer of AI. We recently, you can read the headlines, but our investment in infrastructure to support AI is significant. $10 billion in Richmond County, North Carolina, just announced last year. We are using it across all of our business lines. It is creating incredible efficiencies, whether it be through the automation of the robotics program, which we have a significant robotics manufacturing in Massachusetts. We're using it as we're deploying our satellites with LEO to offer broadband global internet to rural communities. I use it in my everyday world. If you have Alexa, you might have Alexa Plus now. She sounds a little bit more real, but she also can be a little testy sometimes. I noticed last night when I was asking her to do a simple task, she was kind of arguing with me. So, but I think it's going to create so much efficiencies around that aggregation of information. Just me personally, I'm in annual review process, and I have 60-something people that report to me, and being able, it has saved me, I would say 30% of my time just using our Quick Suite, Amazon Quick Suite tools on being able to how to calibrate those annual reviews to give my team the correct level of feedback. So the efficiencies are incredible. That's just kind of my personal story that I'm working on today. Mm-hmm. But when we think about it and how quickly it has deployed over the last 2 years, it's hard to kind of have that crystal ball about what the next 2 years. But I always say it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but this old dog has learned some new tricks with it. And for the education, when I think about K through 12 education, you know, my daughter was using ChatGPT trying to do her algebra homework the other night. I'm like, no, you got to learn how to do it. So I think we need to be very cognizant about the positives of AI, but also ensure that we're utilizing it and deploying it in the proper ways. So we're not making young people lazy.
And like you said, you guys are in a position where it's actually influencing your infrastructure build out and stuff too. Can you share just a little bit about the Richmond County example, and what do you foresee other projects like that in North Carolina or around here?
Cannot comment on our future pipeline. Politically correct answer. You know, you're seeing massive investments, and Andy recently, we had our earnings and talking about, we're going to probably invest $200 billion in the U.S. This year. A lot of that will be on that AI investment in cloud infrastructure. We're in a very competitive market with other companies, so we want to be the forefront. We believe we can be the forefront globally with AI and supporting our businesses. When you think about Amazon Web Services, we're here to support small businesses. 60% of online sales on Amazon Store are from small and medium-sized businesses right here in North Carolina and around the globe. So it is that kind of B2B opportunity that we see.
Okay. And let's switch back to our workers and workforce questions. We have a question from table 50 from Marlo that kind of speaks to something you've all brought up in terms of quality of life and what you're looking in terms of.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Marlo Foster, CEO at Cape Fear Habitat for Humanity. We work in the affordable housing space and typically serve those individuals making 30 to 80% of AMI. I know I've had some conversation with Holly around this topic, but I'm just wondering how much discussion occurs around affordable housing and affordable housing stock when you're looking to locate or relocate team members to this area.
I'll start. We have Amazon Housing Fund. It's a $3.6 billion affordable housing fund that we primarily in the Puget Sound of Washington, our second headquarters in the DC metro region in Arlington, and then in Nashville, Tennessee, where we located a large corporate office. Through that fund, so far we've been able to preserve 32,000 affordable units in those 3 locations, and we're looking at other opportunities around the country. When we think about affordable housing, I bet if I asked 20 people in this room, you'd have different definitions of what that means. Sometimes it's workforce housing, sometimes it's affordable housing, and it really is about getting the education and the information at that local and regional level of that AMI to determine what is workforce and what is affordable. When I was doing our second headquarters search nationally and met with 20 different locations, for those younger in the room, you can Google it, but it was several years ago. The number one issue that every single major metro told us is their number one challenge is affordable or workforce housing. From that takeaway, we have a leadership principle at the company that kind of came out around this discussion. Success and scale bring broad responsibility. And we truly believe that as a large corporate entity in the United States, we have a corporate responsibility to be that good neighbor, to be that good partner. And so that is why we created our Amazon Housing Fund. As we're looking at, primarily on our corporate side of things, looking at what locations to look at, we do need to study what impact will those 1,000 jobs be on that location. How can we be that good partner and the steward of the community to ensure that our impact, our long-term impact is positive and doesn't detract from what's already there? So I think it's a very important issue, Marlo, and it's a complex issue. It's, sometimes there's too much regulation around it, quite frankly, that doesn't allow those corporate partnerships to come to fruition.
How does, do you have a handle, David, at how Wilmington area compares to Asheville area, just on that issue, or what your employee said?
Yeah, actually, it's no secret, Asheville's a really expensive place to live. And so I think when we were definitely looking at locations across the U.S., Wilmington was much more affordable, and was a decision for us as we were looking to, not just hire locally, but we were going to be recruiting outside in. So that was really, competitive for us. But I do have just a comment in regard to affordable housing, and it's nothing to do with us, but I do think, we are at a time it's really challenging right now. The costs, we're sitting right now with the feds, which aren't probably going to do anything with rates over the next 2 cuts, and we've got not enough inventory. Rates aren't at a level where it allows people to go out and buy homes. And I think I just heard that, the average age for a new home-time buyer is going to be like 42 years old. Wow. And so I've got, 3 kids, and they're all in college, and, these are conversations that we're having at the dinner table, and it is something that we've got to really kind of figure out, and we do need more government support as it relates, because I know just from a business standpoint, just the type of capital X projects that we've been doing, nothing is coming in within budget. I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but every time I look at it, it's 20% higher, and I'm like, if this is us, what is it for just everybody else here? So, we really do got to do something that is really transcending, that we've never seen before, and with the amount of wealth this country has, I'm still surprised we haven't figured that out.
And I did want to talk to you guys a little bit about these external challenges, since you segued over to that. But you all alluded to earlier, these are challenging times with the regulatory, but also just things that you can't control within your own walls. What are some of those factors that might be impacting, whether it's tariffs, inflation? Steve, you work internationally. I think you mentioned this before in your intro, but you're also building a facility in Ireland that these planes are flying back and forth to. So whether it be international or other things that are putting pressures on the company externally, what are those?
Today, probably the biggest impact of world events for us is fuel costs, and our flights are 30% greater on our fuel costs now. So that's having a huge impact. Of course, first and last mile are going to see that, and we're seeing it at the gas pump. So that immediately has affected us. As a business, though, the tariffs and the taxes that we have, it's actually a value proposition of ours. All of our facilities sit on a foreign trade or a free trade zone, depending on where they are. And so we have clients that utilize that, even domestically and internationally, that want to make sure that their product, mostly the raw materials, are here and ready for manufacturing in the United States without having to pay those taxes to have them sit here until they're utilized. So they do pay them, obviously, after they're utilized and sold, but until then, they're the best of both worlds. If they store them in our facilities, they store them tax-free, and they also have them in their supply chain very close to proximity to the manufacturing site. So for us, it's been very useful. It's a product for us, and it's been helpful.
Any other external pressures that you all are feeling?
Yeah, for us, we have a global supply chain. We have a lot of commodities that are in Asia and South America, and so between the tariffs and then, of course, the environmental challenges, we've been hit pretty hard with that. And then I would say, that has a ripple effect as it relates to specifically our people that are frontline and supply chain. I'd say the last 12 or 15 months, the stop, go, dealing with the geopolitics, and then just the lack of commodities available. We're big purchasers of coffee and coffee beans, and it's been really, really difficult for us, and we've seen that impact with our cost of goods, which has really hit us at a time when margin compression is continuing to hit at the retail level. So it's been difficult.
I'll just add I think the also global supply chain on many products, the inconsistency. It's hard to you kind of get whiplash on trying to do your budgets, but that's also where we have found utilizing AI has been very helpful, because we can start looking around those corners more efficiently to plan for those, potentially, whether it be a full disruption, and how can we make ourselves as a company more resilient by investing and innovating in what we already have. So that's where you're seeing these larger investment numbers. Again, $200 billion. Last year we were the largest, it was our largest investment at $340 billion. So we are in high investment mode, so we can be more resilient and rely upon ourselves as a company.
Okay. We have another workforce question from table 14, I believe. Nicholas?
Good morning. Thank you all for your fantastic investments in our community, in our industry. And as a hospitality advocate, I'm just curious, Holly, as you see site developments around the country, how have you seen the hospitality industry bounce back and or keep pace with the jobs that may go to the site here? And it's an industry that defines our destination here and is super important. So I'm curious to see your thoughts.
And I mean, I'll say kind of specifically to Wilmington, maybe I'll start there and go out. I think we could invest more in hospitality here. When we have, executives coming to town, we have some really nice products here, but they often sell out very quickly, particularly in the downtown location. I brought several of my team members in. Last fall, we did a wrap party for Summer I Turned Pretty that was produced here and filmed here. And I had to put them in like 3 different hotels because there was nowhere to stay. So I think, more investment in hospitality. There's a great lot, like where a Publix was maybe going. That seems like it'd be fantastic for a hotel downtown. And on a national level, a lot of that stopped during the pandemic, and I think that a lot of the major metros are still playing catch up on either renovating the properties, updating the properties, or investing in new properties. So I think the hotel rates have really gone up too. I know I was in where was I last week? Missoula, Montana, and visiting a facility, and it was amazing how much money I was paying for a very tiny little box of a hotel overlooking an AC vent. Work travel is not sexy. And I was like, why is this like, $450? So I think, I've seen rates go up too, so clearly the industry is lagging behind, that business travel is back. And a good night's sleep can go a very long way for a productive day.
Yeah, I agree, and I think hospitality here still needs to mature. I think there are more units that need to go up. I think it has to be probably in the area of bringing business development in. And I think, we've seen a lot of hotels go up here, and I think it's seasonal and vacation oriented, but I believe for the workforce and for the recruitment of other businesses to come in, it needs to mature a bit.
And I'll say one of our leadership principles is frugality. So like for the business travel, and I think most companies kind of have that as part of their culture, is, we're not staying at a St. Regis, we're staying at the Marriott, a Hilton, a Hyatt, wherever you have your points and your loyalty, that's where the business travel is staying. And so I think that's where the investment needs to come in to make sure that we can, I would love to have a team meeting here, but I really don't have the location to do that.
And we have a question from Tracy, table 38.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Newkirk, and I am with Genesis Block Foundation. I'm right here. And I work with a lot of small businesses, and most of them thrive and really need contracts with some of our larger employers to be to continue to grow and scale their businesses. And we have catering and signage and event planning, all different types of small businesses in our community. What are you doing to be intentional about ensuring that they can be a part of your supply chain and support you and your employees here in Wilmington?
For our industry, and we do quite a bit of, sorry, Tracy, I can see you now.
You're right at the spotlight,
Yeah.
and we can't see you.
I'll look that way.
Just pretend that
Yeah.
that you can see it.
We entertain a lot. Most of our clients are from out of town, and we entertain a lot. So having workforce here and having infrastructure here to support events, hospitality, things like that are really meaningful for us. Signage, when we do event planning, there's an awful lot that goes into it. And I think I've seen in the 11 years that I've been here and the 7, 8 that we've been doing business, I've seen a really good increase in the amount of development for event planning and for training for that, having signage and things like that. I mean, everything we're doing is local, so we're utilizing the local pools for that. I think I've been pleased with the resources that we're having locally. I don't know if you've seen the same here, but I have.
I'll echo that. Again, we often work with our small and medium-sized sellers that we have that relationship with within the state, and bring them in to either meet with executives, or if we're doing policymaker meetings, because I think hearing their stories are important. We don't do a lot of entertaining because we are frugal, but like on our catering, we always it's just consistent. It's part of the culture of who we are in our DNA. What are those local businesses that we can bring into our fold for that repeat business too? So I think it's increasingly important, And then as I've worked to develop different corporate offices too, we tend to have first floor retail, and those are all local, and we have an index on minority-owned businesses too, to really even offset their lease payments to bring them into our employee, because we also don't have free food at Amazon. So we like to push our employees out for lunch, so we are having that economic impact in the communities we locate.
It's Tracy, right? So Tracy, I know we've got like 4 times a year here, we have town halls where we cater in food. So if you want, I know one of our marketing people would love to get you connected so you could bring some of your community to get involved with us.
Well, let's talk a little bit about those community ties as well. So obviously you're very connected to the business community. What role do you all see? And FedEx Foods is right there on Greenfield in the neighborhood. How would you define, or how do you foresee your roles with the larger community tie-in in general? Do you plan to do sponsorships of the nonprofits? Do you plan to have volunteering in the immediate neighborhood? Where do you see you fitting in with Wilmington?
Yeah, I mean, right away we got plugged in with the food bank and Good Shepherd, and so we felt it was really important to be good neighbors and good stewards, and to really help strengthen that side of the city was to really partner with those that were over there. So we are very active in it, and we're donating, and there's also resources being supported in with the food bank.
We have a significant community engagement team, and we also have our disaster relief team. And so philanthropy at Amazon is beyond just our affordable housing fund and some of the corporate philanthropy that the company does. As we hire locally, we will really listen to our site lead on where does that individual, what are their passions, and what are the employees' passions. During the month of May, we have our month of volunteering, so we will pick various organizations for the entire population of our fulfillment network, goes out and volunteers. In September, we have Go Gold, raising money and awareness for cancer. And so we've already started some of these, relationships and discussions, but we will wait for everybody until we start hiring some of our management teams so we can really listen to our employee population. Is it a Habitat for Humanity? Is it a Good Shepherd? We tend to have those kind of longer term partnerships. We're not a company that just writes a check and you never see us. When we give, we want to be your partner, and we will be that good neighbor and partner to Amazon. To this community. Me personally, I moved here full-time 2.5 years ago. We owned our house for 13 years, live in the historic district. So, my husband and I both are jumping in feet first. I serve on the endowment board, really important organization that I think is transformational and will continue to be transformational to this entire region, on education, on all the things we've been talking about today. He sits on the Cape Fear Community College Foundation board, on the Scouts board. So, we are going to be involved as personal citizens also, because we have a daughter and we want her to move back here wherever she goes to college. Hopefully she goes to college somewhere, who knows by that time. But I think it's so important for executives to be invested in their community, not only with their company, but their personal time.
Same for April is volunteer month for us, and we have a program and an HR team that's building that, and many of our managers and team members are on volunteer events. I think the one in April is a beach cleanup. So we get our hands dug in, and as we continue to grow, we'll develop more programs for volunteering. My wife and I are small business owners as well, so we've done a lot of events and sponsorships with some of the local schools and whatnot. So that is something that's on our mind continually. I mean, we're part of Wilmington. We want to continue to grow here. Being part of the community and giving back and sponsoring and being involved in community events is forefront in our minds, and we have teams in our organization to grow that.
Okay. We have a question from Dora at table 17. Also in the spotlight.
Oh, hi, I'm Dory. I'm from Rev Federal Credit Union, and you've all mentioned Cape Fear Community College, UNCW, and you touched on this a bit, but perhaps what specific degrees or trade schools are you looking for, and maybe what's lacking from our education system now that you need to have here?
We're very ingrained in the technology piece, so engineering, science and engineering, is strong for us. So we have different sectors. You think of supply chain for us, most of our facilities are warehouse driven, supply chain driven. So we need talent pools that are going to be pulling inventory management, working with technology, robotics, fork trucks, I mean, you name it. That level of pool, and the community college is wonderful. It's been very helpful for us. Then as we get more into quality engineering and quality control, I mean, we're driven by regulatory requirements day in and day out. We have to have a very strong pool in the regulatory side. So quality engineering, industrial engineering, maintenance, refrigeration. Our buildings are 500,000 square feet of very sensitive temperature controlled facilities. There has to be a talent pool to be able to maintain that, troubleshoot. And so working with Cape Fear, working with UNCW and developing those programs, or further developing those programs to enhance how we operate and train those employees or grab new employees from that talent pool is instrumental in how we survive. And so it's for us, it's near and dear.
I would just echo that, ditto. I think all of that is already here. I'm not seeing any gaps between UNCW and Cape Fear Community College. I think it's the ensuring that we are being connected and having those conversations to make sure, because it's changing so quickly that what young people are studying today is going to be completely different than what's applicable 2 years from now. And so ensuring that we're having these one-on-one conversations about looking around those corners to ensure that the education meets the business need.
Yeah, and I very similar. You know, we maintenance, engineering, management. That's an area that we see a big gap in our middle management is leadership skills, being able to really galvanize and lead people. So we've got a program that will start here with Cape Fear called Fed Up Food Academy, where we bring people through a curriculum that helps them with management leadership skills. But as we talked earlier about AI, I think AI is going to be part of that, specifically as it relates to machinery work, robotics. I think there's going to be a really tie to that as well.
I'll add one thing. Doing this, having conversations and public speaking, we do find that a lot of our younger talent, they just don't have those skills very honed. So I think that really starts in the K through 12 education system. So if there's anybody in that system here, I think really forcing young people to get out of a screen, have a conversation, know how to walk up to somebody, introduce yourself, what do you do, your elevator pitch, I think is increasingly important, and it's a skill that we're seeing is I have 3 stepkids that just graduated college, and it's something I'm still trying to teach them. This is what you have to do when you're getting a job.
Right, exactly. We are winding down our audience questions. We have one more from Christine.
Good morning. My name is Christine Von Lang, and I actually run an independent consulting business here. But more importantly than that, I'm a grandmother, and I, even at a generous $23 an hour for an hourly worker, how does a young parent find daycare if they're working? If you're lucky, you can get a month at $850. That's $10,000. So you're ending up with maybe $2,000 left over. You've got housing. So we talk about the housing, but how can we supplement daycare? And is Amazon or are these your larger companies providing some sort of daycare on site or subsidizing the daycare? Because it's important. We talk about the screens, and that's unfortunately what happens is these parents are so overworked that they end up putting their kids on the screens and so forth. So I think we talk about developing these kids in college. We've got to start helping these young parents so they don't have the mental stresses that they have. How are we going to address these young infants 0 to 5 years old before they can get into school where they have the programs? I think that's a real concern for me from what I see out there.
Yeah, is that a workforce issue that you've heard come up from your employees?
Yeah, it comes up from time to time for us. Again, we're growing, so we're starting to just get into those kind of hard conversations. And I think that all goes back to company culture. And for us, our world is complex, and everybody has complex situations for sure at home and outside of work. And being able to have those honest conversations with your employee is really how you build a great company culture. And developing programs, I mean, we're very, very new as a business. You probably have many programs developed for that. And listening to your people and really understanding their needs outside to make them effective at work, not worry about what's going on at home or outside of that is absolutely is how we will grow as a business.
I think it's also, I think early childhood education is extremely important, so I'll stay kind of a step beyond just child care, but that early childhood education. And that's been a priority, one that we're continuing to dive into in the endowment too, of what are those needs now in the community, but what are those needs in the future of the community. We do not as a company offer on-site child care for a variety of reasons that I can talk to you offline about. But we do work with the nonprofit communities on how do we ensure that our employees, we can meet our employees where they are and help them get to where they want to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a problem that we see specifically. We've got a lot of people that have, you know, partners or spouses that work one shift and then come in second shift and have kids. And, you know, we've been trying to solve that dynamic by working with communities, trying to find co-ops. And, you know, we haven't been able to successfully figure that out, but I know that our HR team is constantly, you know, trying to dial in and figure out, you know, how can we support our people who have these kids? You know, this first quarter is almost up. I mean, the weather here has been really difficult, and we've seen so many of our people that haven't been able to show up because kids have been home. So it is really a challenge for us.
Interesting. Okay. And today we've talked a lot about what factored into your company's decisions to grow these jobs here. To kind of end us on a note, and David, I'm going to start with you just to give you a heads up. What is your one piece of advice for the Cape Fear region in terms of helping other jobs grow and bring other companies that might be on stage here next year?
No pressure.
Yeah, it's a tough. I mean, I think again, it boils down to relationships. I mean, a lot of things that we talked about today, the commitment by the community, strong focus on economic development, education. But I think this day and age, it gets back to relationships. And I know for us, when we came into the community, the civic leadership really met us in a way that we felt seen and heard. And as you mentioned earlier, we wanted to be there. That was like really, it was us between another state. And it was like, you know, they see us, you know, and we feel like with our growth, they're going to be behind us. And I think that's what we got to continue to do is, you know, as Natalie mentioned, be that cheerleader for those organizations. I think the resources are here. It's evident by the crowd here. There's a lot of people here that are committed to this city. And I think staying in front and, you know, connecting and having community is probably the biggest thing that you can do to really continue to drive growth here.
I'm a big believer in economic development and economic investment. I think it starts that the tax base, as that grows, as the job creation, you know, continues to grow, and that diversification of jobs really solves some of the other problems that, you know, education, childcare, et cetera. It starts to solve some of those problems for the long term. I think you do have to have that mutual trust, but more than anything, it's going to be speed to open. It is extremely competitive out there, so having those sites, having shovel-ready sites, ease of permitting, not highly regulated. You know, in California, it takes us 2 to 3 years to do anything, and so you've got to really plan out. And by that time, you know, so much has changed in the world, being business support in that way. So shovel-ready sites, available buildings, and path to permitting.
Completely agree. And I think the one thing for us is just to continue to be business friendly. It has been a very, very business friendly community from the start. Haven't seen it change much. It's only getting stronger, and to continue that would be advantageous for us and other businesses coming in.
Locally and at the state level. Very important.
Well, thank you very much. We will continue to cover these projects as they move forward in the Business Journal, so you'll be reading more about them. But we want to thank our panelists today for sharing their insights. And we want to thank all of you for joining us today and for your insightful questions as well. Don't forget your parking pass is on the tent, the Highland Roofing tent on your tables to take with you. And speaking of jobs, go back to your offices and fill out your best places to work surveys, so that you can be recognized as well for the work you're doing for your workforce. And we will see you all next weekend at Feast.